Hello there, friends. Thank you so much for joining me here. If you're new, I would love for you to stay tuned for weekly stories and videos. And today we're off to school. It's lunchtime, and the bell has just rung. Can you hear the clatter of trays and the rumble of hundreds of children's chatter? Imagine the smell of freshly cooked meals wafting through the air, mixing with the aroma of polished floor and disinfectant. That's the scene for today. Let's look back at 10 school dinner foods that every British kid remembers. Let's start with a sweet treat. Number 10, sponge cake with pink custard. You can almost taste it now, can't you? A rectangle of sponge cake bobbing gently in a sea of pale pink custard. Yes, pink custard. What was it about school dinners and custard? It seems like every pudding needed a coating of the stuff. But what makes this particular memory stand out is the colour. It's not that we weren't used to regular old yellow custard. We were, but this shade of pink was unique, special. It was reserved for Friday treats, you know, as in Friday is treat day. Kids looked forward to it all week. How did they get it that colour? No one knows. In fact, no one really knows much about pink custard at all. It just sort of disappeared after the 1990s. As far as we know, it was never sold commercially. So while we may never know exactly what it was, we know it tasted good. No. 9. Turkey Twizzlers. Let's talk about something a little more substantial now. Have you heard of Turkey Twizzlers? Well, if you haven't, let me introduce you to one of the most notorious school dinner staples of the late 20th century. Picture this: long, thin spirals of grey processed meat that looked like oversized string. They were often served with chips or mashed potatoes, and were basically the definition of a mystery meat. What exactly was in them? Who knows? But they were always gone in an instant. They were a favourite of cheeky school kids, and the bane of nutritionists everywhere. In the early 2000s, Jamie Oliver made it his mission to remove Turkey Twizzlers from school menus across the country, calling them disgusting. Ironically, they made a comeback years later after being rebranded as Turkey Bites. Now you know why Jamie Oliver gave up. Number 8. Jam roly-poly. Jam roly-poly was a steamed pudding made of sweat, flour, sugar and spice. And of course, the star ingredient, jam. It was typically made with raspberry or blackberry jam, which was generously spooned onto the dough before it was all rolled up and popped into a basin to steam. Once cooked, it emerged as a heavy, dense block of spongy goodness. And then came the best part, smothering it all in custard. Just the thought of it makes your mouth water. It was a post-war specialty that stuck around until the 1980s, when it began to fade away from school menus, only to reappear occasionally on nostalgia-themed episodes of BBC's Doctor Who. 7. Sausage and mash. Now let's transport you back to a simpler time. The lunch hall of your elementary school. Can you picture the scene? Tables lined up in rows, the clatter of cutlery, the hum of conversation. And then there it is, one of the most quintessential British school dinner staples, sausage and mash. 2 plump sausages plopped into a pool of rich gravy alongside a generous helping of creamy mash. It was a feast fit for any hungry young scholar. Some schools served it with peas, adding a touch of green to the plate, while others opted for a more minimalist approach. But no matter the accompaniment, sausage and mash was always a crowd pleaser. Number 6. Semolina pudding. Not all school dinners were created equal, and some dishes were downright divisive. Enter semolina pudding, a bland-looking concoction that turned many a young palate against healthy eating. Picture this, a thick, creamy mess, sometimes speckled with raisins, plopped into a bowl. And if that doesn't sound appetizing, wait till you see the way it was dressed up. A glob of jam in the middle, just to add insult to injury. No wonder it earned the nickname sick and it sticks. Semolina pudding might have been cheap and easy to make, but it was also incredibly boring. Served in Britain from the 1950s to the 1980s, this dish was infamous for its unappealing appearance and gloopy consistency. Despite its divisive reputation, it holds a special place in the memory of those who suffered through it. Number 5. Fish fingers and chips. Does the sound of sizzling oil and freshly fried fish bring back fond memories? Then you must be thinking about school dinners. Picture this, golden-hued fish fingers nestled alongside crispy chips, all covered in salt and vinegar, maybe a dollop of ketchup too. Add a side of mushy peas, and you've got yourself a proper British school lunch. Fish fingers and chips were a classic school dinner combo that offered a fun twist to the traditional British dish. These bite-sized pieces of fish were battered and fried until crispy, and then served hot with a helping of chips. It was a meal that both kids and teachers could get behind. Number 4. Manchester tart. Now let's head to dessert and indulge in a classic British school dinner treat. Are you ready for a trip down memory lane? Close your eyes and imagine biting into a slice of heavenly deliciousness. Layers of sweet pastry, homemade raspberry jam, creamy custard and toasted coconut flakes all come together in perfect harmony. This was no ordinary dessert. It was a Manchester tart. Hailing from northwest England, this iconic pudding was a staple in school dinner halls from the 1970s to the 1990s. Its distinctive flavours and textures made it a standout dessert that both kids and teachers adored. Some versions even featured a single cherry perched on top as the cherry on top. Number 3. Corned beef hash. Now let's take a trip back in time to the era when school dinners were all about making the most of leftovers. Enter corned beef hash, a hearty dish made from diced corned beef and potatoes. Picture this, a pan sizzling with oil as diced potatoes and onions sizzle to perfection. Then comes the star of the show, the corned beef, adding a salty, savoury flavour that fills the kitchen with warmth. But it wasn't just about the taste. Corned beef hash was a cost-effective and filling meal that nourished generations of British schoolchildren during the post-war era. It might not have been the most exciting dish, but it was certainly one that left a lasting impression on those who ate it. Number 2. Spotted Dick. Now let's take a closer look at Spotted Dick, a traditional British steamed pudding that was a regular fixture on school dinner menus from the 1950s to the 1980s. Imagine a sweat pudding, light yet substantial, studded with currants or raisins that glisten like spots of sunlight. It was a dish that combined simplicity with heartwarming nostalgia. Served warm with lashings of custard, Spotted Dick was a true comfort food. It might not have been the most glamorous pudding, but it held a special place in the hearts and stomachs of generations of British school kids. And finally, number 1, chocolate concrete with mint custard. Last but not least, let's finish with a dessert that was both intriguing and delicious, chocolate concrete. This decadent treat consisted of a dense, fudgy base topped with a refreshing mint custard. The combination of rich chocolate and cool mint created a symphony of flavours that dance on your tongue. It was a dessert that was as exciting as it was tasty. Served mainly in the 1970s and 80s, chocolate concrete with mint custard was a true testament to Britain's love affair with sweet treats. If you enjoyed today's journey through time, then don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to join us again soon for more tales from Britain's past. Until then, keep discovering and stay curious. Goodbye.